What's up, amigos? Welcome to Amigos. Today we're going to be doing a simple one color front chest print along with a one color back print. Both prints are going to be using the same screen. We're going to do a color change and we're going to be creating with the heat gun as well with the heat press. Okay, so you saw in my last video where I was preparing the screen for this print job. I actually ended up going with the 160 mesh. I was going to use the higher mesh, but it wasn't working out when I was trying to expose my screens. And with this one, I did a test print and it looked good. So that's what we're going to be using. And again, if you want to use two prints on the same screen, saves you time, emotion, and you don't have to expose one screen, so that saves a lot. So yeah, so first we're going to start off with the chest print. It's 50 shirts. Half of them are going to be with red ink and the other half are going to be with black ink. And it's always best to start off with your lightest color and do your darkest color at the end. That way, in case you do end up leaving some ink on the screen, that won't affect the next color. So let me set up this real quick and we'll get started. I find it a lot easier to do the small print first, then do the large print second, because we're going to flip this. And one way you can do protect that, so you want to waste tape covering your other design, is use a piece of magazine, a sheet of magazine, because if you use regular paper, that will soak up the ink. And I don't have newspaper. I mean, I don't have a magazine, but I do have this, so it'll come in handy. Okay, now before I actually get started, I'm going to do one final test print just to make sure that I didn't leave out any pinholes. And for this, I'm going to actually use the heat gun to cure this. Now, I could have used the flash for everything, for the chest print and the back print, but I'm not going to do that. It just wastes too much electricity. And for the chest print, I think the heat gun is more practical, especially since I'm just in one station. Maybe if it was like two station, then yes, I could use a flash, because I could just have the flash on the other side and print one, slide the shirt, have that being cured while I'm printing the next one. But I don't limit to only one station. For me, a heat gun uses wastes less electricity, and since it is a small print, it'll be a lot easier. For example, I don't recommend using a heat gun for a large print because it doesn't take you a long time. But for something small, I'm going to use that. And for the back print, I'm going to use the heat press, because I think it's faster. And you're going to see this. I'm going to be curing the back print straight from the palette to the heat press. There's going to be no drying. It's going to be wet. So yeah, but before, let me do a test print. Very good. Now, you can actually be careful with the heat gun, especially in a white garment, because there's a risk of you burning it, and you can't leave that little kind of like orange glow around it. That's why sometimes I am nervous when using the heat gun. Okay, so I'm finally done doing the front chest print with red ink, and now I gotta switch it to black. Shouldn't be a problem, real simple. Luckily I do have the easy way, I forgot what's called, this thing. So I can finally clean the screen inside without having bad odor, so good thing about this. Okay, so I finally got done doing the front chest print. I already cleaned off the ink from the screen, and now I'm gonna flip it around so we can do the back side. And again, I'm gonna start off using red ink. Okay, let me do a test print just to make sure. Again, no pinholes went through. Squeegee from Octopus Technologies, the one they sent me. Gonna test it out. Take off these gloves already. Looks like we're good. So I'm going to plug in the heat press so it could warm up, heat up. Sorry about this light. It's in the way, I know, but okay. So finally turn on the heat press. So I'll wait for it to actually heat up while I prepare the shirts and put some new more adhesive on the palette. Now a lot of people ask me, can I cure using heat press? And the answer is yes. You can cure plastic ink with the heat press. Water based, not so much, because water based you do need airflow. But for plastic heat press is perfect and way faster than a heat gun. So for example, if you can afford a conveyor dryer or a flash, I highly recommend a heat press. Heat gun, it's cheaper, but it's real slow. You can do it for you saw in another video where the chest print real fast, but when it's something larger, it's gonna take longer. And the more shirts you do, it's gonna be longer. But with the heat press, a lot of people think that you actually have to wait for the ink to dry to take to the heat press, but it's not always. You don't have to do that. It's gonna slow you down a lot. At the beginning, I thought you had to let the ink dry, and before I had a flash, before I had a heat gun, what I used to do was I used to, with the regular blow dryer, dry the ink, which it doesn't get that hot, so it will take a long time for the ink to actually dry. Then I'll place it on my side. Then I'll take it to the heat press, and that took me forever, man. I remember I spent I don't know how many hours just for a few shirts. But when I went to the maestro, he told me that you could just screen print it. The ink could still be wet. Take it out and take it direct to the heat press and cure it. And I was like, really? Then I saw how he did it. I was like, man. And now that's how I do it. And trust me, it saves you a lot of time, man. And it's actually, I think it's faster than a flash, but that's only if you have one station. For example, if I have multi-station, most likely I will use a flash. I'll just have the flash on the other side, and while I'm printing one shirt, the other shirt will be curing. But I don't have that. I'm limited to one station, so that's why I decided to use the heat press. A lot faster, and It actually cures it a lot. It makes it more, a bit more shiny. Some people don't like it, but I like it. And it actually smooths out the ink. So that's how we're gonna do it. So I already have my screen here. Ready for the back print. Actually got started a few ones just to make sure it was, you know, the right location. So let's get to it. Now, heat presses vary. I mean, some people would actually use this, I don't know if it's called the same Teflon sheet, the paper, where people use it they place on top of the shirt to protect the garment from the heat press. People use that. I don't use that because my heat press actually comes with the Teflon sheet already on it. So that saves me time and this thing lasts longer. And I didn't know that. I thought it was just, I thought all heat presses came with them, but I guess not. And at the beginning I would actually use that paper for my shirt. But the master told me you don't need that, it already comes with it. Because actually I didn't borrow my heat press a while back for a job that he had a long time ago. And he told me that, which made things a lot easier because I don't have to, you know, press the paper, you know, a lot faster. But once in a while I do wipe it. I will wipe it like every 5 shirts, but this I'm gonna do it with every shirt just to be safe. Because I actually need to turn the shirt stain today. The last thing I want to do is stain them. So yeah, so all we're gonna do is we're gonna print directly from the press. We're gonna dry, no drying at all. Pull it out and place it on here. But be very careful because since the ink is still wet, you're really vulnerable to staining the shirt. Has happened before in the past where you grab the shirt and you accidentally do this or something and it stains it and that ruins it. So you just gotta be careful. So yeah, we're gonna pull it from here and onto here, and we're gonna cure for 12 seconds. I give it 12 seconds, but this kind of press does, it has a lot of problems. This thermometer right here to control the temperature doesn't even work that well. And right now it's, you see, it got too hot. It got too hot. So since it does get hotter, I actually give it less time. Usually I give 12 seconds, but since it's way too hot, I'm gonna give it 10 seconds. But when you clean the shirt, you're gonna see smoke. Don't get scared, and that's a good thing. That means that your ink got cured properly. For me, at the beginning, I actually would get scared because I would see smoke and I thought my shirt was burning, but it's not. It just means that your ink is getting cured properly. So let's get started. I have too much adhesive though. Okay. Like I mentioned, to be real careful not to stain it. Now we're going to give it 12 seconds. There you go. You see? Let me make sure it's good. Oh, yeah, see? Okay, so I finally swapped the color. I put the blank ink now, and we're ready to print the rest of the shirts. Only 25 to go, and we're just gonna be using the heat press. Like I mentioned, it is kind of fast, man. It's way faster than when I used to be with my flash. Because with flash, I'd be having the flash on top of the shirts for like 20 seconds, and that flash sometimes it takes a long time to heat up, and sometimes I'm not really sure if it gets everything around. And when the heat press, I feel more confident. But later on, I'll probably will invest in a better flash, because that one kind of like it does get the job done, but it can use some improvements. But anyways, let's continue. 25 more shirts to go. And loving this squeegee, man. That octopus sent me, amazing, man. Okay, amigos, so we're finally done. So here's the final print. Here's the front chest print and the back print. Now, hopefully this was helpful for those who have been asking me if you could cure a shirt with the heat press, and a way to speed up that process if you are curing your shirts. Because, like I mentioned, a lot of people will believe that you have to actually let the ink dry. I thought that at the beginning as well, but after I realized that you didn't have to, it has saved me a lot of time. It actually made me print faster. Now, when you're just starting out, the most affordable option might be using a heat gun or a heat press, because flash, they cost a little bit more, especially a conveyor dryer. Those cost a lot more. But when you're starting out, I recommend getting a heat gun or a heat press. The heat gun is more practical for small prints, or if you're gonna do like, even if a large print, you could get away with it with just doing like a few shirts. But once you start printing a lot more, the heat gun will be slower, and with the heat press it'll be a lot faster. And also, if you have a heat press, you could do heat transfers. You can start doing sublimation, so that's going to become real handy. And later on, we'll start, getting more print jobs or larger orders. A flash will be more like helpful for me. If I had at least a 2-pallet station, I mean a 2-station press, I would have done this print using the flash, because I could just be printing, the flash would be on the side, and while that's curing, I could be doing another print. But I don't have that. I only have 1 station, so that's kind of slow. For example, if I would have had the flash, I had to actually be curing here, and when the heat press, you saw I took it out, that was curing at the same time I was loading up the other shirt. And if I start improving loading the shirts, I could be actually printing that shirt while the other shirt is still curing with the heat press. But I didn't want to risk it. I want to risk bringing the shirt, so I didn't want to do that. But later on, as I get more practice, a better palette, because this palette is kind of even, so it's kind of hard, to actually center the t-shirt. But once I get a new palette, I'll probably start doing printing, pass it over to the heat press while that's curing, print the other one. That could speed up this process a lot faster. Because I remember the first time I did I think it was 12 shirts, and it literally took me all night to do those 12 shirts, because that was actually drying the ink. Like I mentioned, when the blow dryer, very slow. So after I found out that you could just cure the ink with the ink still wet, it improved my time. But if you have any questions still, feel free to drop in the comments below, either about curing with the heat gun or with the heat press or anything else. Feel free to ask me, or if you want, you can send me a message through Instagram or Facebook. And what else? I think that's about it. But let me tell you, amigos, I'll see you guys next time.